Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to another video. And since it was coming up to the end of the year now, only about a month and a half away, I thought it'd be really cool to start doing videos about like what were some of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the year. And this year, 2022, has definitely been one of the biggest years for me, having some of the biggest changes happen and some of the biggest things that have had effects on me, like in business with my physical health and my mental health. There's been so many different things going on, so I'd love to document it and be able to share it and just talk about some of the biggest things that I learned. I wanted to just say, like at the start, you know, I'm obviously not an expert in any way, and I know some of the things that I want to share and I want to talk about, not everyone feels the same way that I do, and I'm just sharing it from my point of view and how I see things and how I believe in them. But I also am always open to hear what other people think about it, and your opinions on it as well. So always feel free to share it down below, but please just know I mean no disrespect in any way. It's all about having a discussion, and that's what I really enjoy. So let's get into the first area I wanted to talk about, but just before that, if you get any value or you find this video interesting in any way, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and this video is definitely sponsored by the like button. If you guys could hit that like button, it helps me out so much with the algorithm, and it lets me know what sort of areas you like and what sort of videos to keep making. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let's jump into the first area now. So lesson number one for me, and was a big one, it was business related, I had a lot of business stuff going on this year, was surrounding money and in the idea that money is really just a number. But as a lot of you guys know from the videos that I do business, like I do my e-commerce, which is mainly my Amazon FBA. But in order to support that, I also work a job part-time, but I work pretty much full-time hours at a supermarket, just doing lots of different sort of things. But pretty much all the money that I get from there goes into my business. I take an incredibly small amount each week just to pay my rent and get a tiny bit of food. And then literally everything else goes into the business, and then any money that is made from the business just goes straight back into the business. So, you know, my business can be doing really well, but it doesn't mean that I'm getting to see any of the money yet. And along with that, it means that, you know, my job isn't a super high paying job. I work a lot of hours there. It can mean that sometimes, and at the start of this year, I definitely had a restriction on my mind about what sort of ideas and what sort of projects I wanted to work on or could work on. I might be researching a product and I see it on Amazon, and I'm like, oh man, like look at that, it's doing like 100,000 a month, or like this, I remember there was this pool cover, something you could cover a pool with, and it was doing like $500,000 a month, and it was a big opportunity. It was like, that'd be sick to go into. And then I went and researched and found out about how much it costs to make the pool covers and get them shipped, and obviously very heavy, and I would have needed like, it was like 50 grand up front just to invest on the first order. And I was like, oh, this is such a good opportunity, but there's no way that I could do this, right? So there was like a couple opportunities like that, and I let my ideas be limited by the amount of money that I had. And sort of time went on, and I was coming up with ideas, but they were all smaller projects, and I really wanted to do some bigger ones. And there was no change happening at all. Like I was trying to convince myself I was busy, but there was no change going on at all. And, you know, I'd spoken to people in the past, like over the last year, who had said, you know, like, hey, if you want us to invest in anything, or like if you've got good ideas, come to us. And I'd always felt really bad. I just felt uncomfortable with asking other people for money, because that's just, you know, I'd been brought up that way. And I didn't want, you know, I was scared about the fact of taking it, and then if I failed, you know, how that would reflect on me and what they would think. But then it just got to the point where I wasn't making any change. And I thought, you know, just fuck it. Like I can't use this as an excuse anymore. And I just need to somehow find this money. So I spent several days writing up a presentation, a pitch, with my pitch deck, and demonstrating why this idea that I had was a really good opportunity, the money I needed to get it off the ground, and then what that money would turn into for those people. And just to cut like a long story short on it, I then pitched these people, and, you know, the amount of money was over $10,000 that I needed. And it was just a weird moment for me, because I went from one day having no money to put into this idea to the next day having this amount over $10,000 after pitching all these different people. And it just made me realize that money is just a number. And once you sort of are able to disconnect yourself from the emotional side of it, because everyone's super attached to it and thinks that it's this make or end all, and that's what really holds you back. And it sort of just showed to me that what was actually the most valuable thing was not the money, but it was the relationships that I'd spent years creating, and the value I'd been providing to these people and helping people and gaining trust and friendships. That was the really valuable thing, because then that in exchange helped me to be able to then launch this product and do these bigger ideas that I wanted to do to create big change, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't laid that groundwork of creating those relationships and getting to know all those different people. And I know when I talk about this, I've had other people say to me that like, yeah, like it's okay for you. I don't know these kind of people. I don't know people who are going to give me money or stuff like that. To say to that is that there are more people like that than you know. You just need to start putting yourself out there. And you probably think that because the people you surround yourself with and the people you're friends with at the moment are definitely not like that at all. They're probably scared about their money and they're not talking about how to make money with each other. And really, the only piece of advice I can give is that you need to be going out and meeting new people. You just have to start small. Like, you might meet that one new person and you're starting to have these cool conversations and they introduce you to 5 more people. And each of those 5 people have got a cool friend that you meet. And then like over time, you start to get closer, you build that trust and you provide that value. And you never know who you're going to meet or what sort of opportunity is going to arise from you putting yourself out there. And then that kind of ties into the second lesson that I want to talk about, which was just getting started. There's been several times over like the last couple of years for me, whether it's with like business or making content or sport or work or whatever, there's something that I've wanted to do, I've been like excited to do, but I was sort of scared to do it, or I had an excuse to do it, not do it for some reason, right? I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll start this business when I have more money. Or I'll start making content once I have a good camera, or I've got an audio setup, or maybe once I've finished studying for the semester, maybe then I'll try and do like these little video series that I want to do, right? Like, we all know we've thought something like that, and we know someone who talks like that. But I've really been trying to narrow down and like I saw this cool quote, I've been trying to like live by it, which sounds kind of weird, but it's that make it day one instead of one day. And I've just found that with all of these areas, like with content, I was scared to start because I didn't want the videos to be bad, and I didn't want people to judge me for it. So I was like, I'll just wait one day. And even though now that I've started and I'm uploading way more, I could have spent all those years doing it, and like my videos have improved and improved and improved over the months. And imagine if I'd spent like the last year or 2 years doing it, right? Like, everyone had to start somewhere. Everyone starts at 0 followers. The third lesson that I wanted to touch on is kind of another interesting one, and it's been a big one for me, which is that everyone is running their own race, which sounds a bit weird in essence, but it's definitely something I've had to tell myself and really focus on this year, meaning that you should never be comparing yourself to someone else's journey. Like the saying, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 20. And it kind of hit me a bit because I consider myself someone who strives to be a high achiever or tries to do well in everything that they do. I was fortunate enough to purchase my first home at 20, I think I was 20 or 21, and I've started my own company. I always tried really hard in school. I'm not saying it to brag, but I would always do those things. But I would always think that I was never doing enough, or I would always be focusing on the people who were doing way better than me and just think that I was trash or that I was doing really bad and that I could be working much harder, and look at all these people who are accomplishing all these things that are way better than me. And that was all I would ever think. Even though I had these great achievements and these really cool things that I'd done, I'd never allow myself that feeling of accomplishment because I still wanted to go for more. And I still struggle with that. It's definitely something that I still think a lot of the time. But then, I was talking to this other guy and he heard about these things I did. And he was like, yeah, like that's just mind boggling. Like, I can't believe you've done that. That's just so cool. I really wish that I could be like that and be like you. And it sort of just clicked for me, I guess, in that essence, and how everyone is running their own race. And different things happen to different people at different times, and you never know what's really going on. And especially, with social media is just a lie. Don't ever believe anything you see on social media. People just post it as the highlight reel, whether it's, with business or fitness or whatever. You can edit stuff and fake nearly everything. So never ever believe what you see on social media, and you really just need to zero down. And once you start focusing on yourself and you start celebrating those wins, that when they come, celebrating them with the real people, or the people on the internet, which you can do, but like really celebrating them with the people you love and the people who helped get you there, you start to feel that sense of accomplishment and that reduced sense of stress. And I don't know, it felt like a bit of a weight off my shoulders for me, and allowed me to think more so on what I wanted to achieve and how I can, I've done these great things, now I can aim even higher. Another big lesson that I learned, which was a really big one for me this year, which I try to make the biggest part of my personality, I guess, or a big part of my life, in that kindness always wins. And it's definitely been the hardest year for me in sense of my mental health. Or maybe it's been the year I've been most aware of it. I'm still trying to work that out. But I definitely struggled this year with like a lot of anxiety, and I really struggled around dealing with angry people and confrontation and stuff like that, in the sense that I had a shift where I felt that I needed to go back at people or say something to people who were angry or being confrontational, instead of in the past, I'd always been like, be the bigger person, and just, not drop down to their level. And for whatever reason, I'd had that shift and I had to really revisit inside myself. But it was weird because I had a moment where I was out at a little food festival thing, and there was this place, and they were doing pizza, but they were also giving out these little shortbread cookies. And on the cookies was like a little motivational quote, and each one was different. And it was actually when I was struggling with it the most. My anxiety was really bad, and it was just like spread out into an everyday thing. And the cookie the guy gave me said, always be kind, especially to unkind people, because they're the ones that usually need it the most. And it was like a reset for me. And I know, it's weird. It sounds weird, but for whatever reason, that's what it was. And I fell back into it. And I used to always say to myself that you should always try to help everyone. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt. And then I felt, it was like that ease, that pressure off my chest, from which you never know what people are going through. And for someone to get angry at you or take something out on you, the hurt that they must be feeling and the things that must have happened to them have got to be extraordinarily bad. For another human being to take out that hate on another human being that they don't even know. So I would always sort of come back to that and think about that and think, maybe I'll just, I try and be nice back to them as much as I can, and I try and help them. And maybe once they've gone home later in the day, or they're sitting on their couch and they're thinking back like, man, I really regret saying that thing to that person. I can't believe they were still so nice and helped me out. And you never know the difference you can have in someone's day. Maybe that's the thing that made their day, or maybe that's the thing that saved them from the shitty situation they were in. That was the one good thing about their day. And you never know when people need that one good thing. So it really reinforced for me just how important it is to bring as much kindness into the world as you can when we're filled with such a time where hate is so loud. And the very last lesson that I learned, which is not as deep and meaningful as the other ones, but it's that fitness ripples into the rest of your life. Anyone who follows me on Instagram has seen I've been posting so much stuff about my fitness journey at the moment. I started going to the gym. I've always been super skinny. I still am really skinny. But I've been eating more and keeping a really disciplined routine and going to the gym a lot. And it's helped me in so many of my other areas. You hear people talk about gym like all the time. But the discipline I've developed in going to the gym has just rippled into my business and keeping me on track and disciplined in that area. And obviously with my food as well, and helps in with my sleep and the time that I'm on screens. It's fantastic. There's I'm going to say nearly no, just in case, but I want to say there's no downside to going to the gym. It's just always good. You meet new people, you get in shape, you look great, you're healthier. It's just so good, and it develops those great habits. So even if from the start, if like you're struggling to be like, hey, I want to start that business or start those videos, if you want to start absolutely anywhere, start by going to the gym. Because by going there and developing that discipline, and by going to the gym, you're already putting yourself above like 90% of the world's population in doing something to better yourself. I promise you that only good things are going to come to you. So just go to the gym, pick up some weights, and I promise things are going to get better for you. So that comes to the end of the biggest lessons that I felt for me in this year 2022. Like I said, for some of you guys, these might be totally meaningless, or you might not agree with how I see some of these things. But I just wanted to share them as they're the things that have had the biggest impact on me. And I guess it'll be interesting for me looking back in a year, 5 years, 10 years, on how it's changed and whether those things are still important. But I'd love to know below whether you agree or disagree, and what are some of the things that have been the biggest lessons for you this year. Even as we're growing into adults now, and the people who are already adults or young people here, there's always new things that we're learning, and I'd love to see how everyone's compared together. So thank you guys so much again for watching. I really can't wait to see you in the next video, and I'll talk to you all later. Alright, bye!